welcome everybody to this evening's program. I will shortly introduce what we're going to do, and then Aditya will take over more in depth about the program. So last year in November we did a prologue of the Radio Juju. It was a kind of warming up, and tonight is the first in a series of 6 or 7 events that is called Radio Juju. The program is basically, I asked Aditya to invite his friends or colleagues to perform here and produce work. We are going to also produce cassettes, and it's basically a program that it consists of events and the production of films and music. So we have Radio Juju and TV Juju, which is 360 degrees TV, which we're going to broadcast over the radio waves. I heard. But yes. What else can I say? This is one line of the program in 2019. The other line is called The Flag and the Hoy. It's called after 2 VOC ships. I invited Paul Element, artist from London, to also design a program for 2019. That slide basically consists of a radical reconstruction of the space. We will basically turn Brud inside out, bring the street in, do different projects with the neighborhood, also with 6 artists, both from the Netherlands and abroad. And these 2 program lines basically overlap. So next time, for example, when you come, if you come, hopefully you come, there will be a complete different setting here. Yeah, what else to say? Adi, do you want to? Let's see if I forgot something essential. No.
Thanks, man. Thank you all for coming.
Speak loudly.
And good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for coming here. And welcome to Radio Juju. And the first in a series of events, concerts, happenings, installations, performances, and films taking place in Brud over the course of this year. And thank you very much to Mazia, who is so kind and who works in such incredible conditions. Mazia invited Brud to lead something in Brud over this year, and Brud is the name of the thing that I do. I have led Brud as Benevolent Dictator for a few years now. And Brud's practice has mostly revolved around the Camera Oscura and its many manifestations. Our practice is formally quite diverse, so Brud's practice or output has been a Gesamtkunstwerk of cinema, theatre, scenography, installations, performances, films, and writings, and take place in multiple media and multiple forms and gestalts, often at the same time. Brud's practice is also defined quite markedly by our collaboration. So we have worked with a large number of artists, mostly friends, and on art. and yes. When Mazhar invited me to lead a program trip, I was in the middle of thinking about a musical piece and that I was writing, and I was very much immersed in music during the days we started speaking. And over time I got to know Mazhar's practice, which is so generous and kind, and what he had done before in Brud and his plans for the future, the way he thought, the way he wrote. I think Mazhar is highly articulate in his writing, and I encourage you to read them. Brud took a while to digest this invitation, and we came up with Juju. And at its core, Juju is the idea of modular synthesis as curatorial practice, as artistic practice, as praxis, as a way of living life, really, which I feel, Brud feels, is perhaps one definition of art making. To apply this to a large number of our friends who happen to be musicians, synthesists, performers, artists, filmmakers, and to see who we could bring over to Rotterdam. Brud is very thankful to and frankly quite impressed by the nature of publicly financed art in the Netherlands, which I find is quite sophisticated. And our thanks to our many friends, partners, and helpers and sponsors, including the Mondrian Funds, the Stimulating Funds, and our many collaborators. So Raja Juju will unfold over the next year, and it will be punctuated by events in this space within the Plaza Perifonica, which some of us are inside. And this consists of a periphonic, quadraphonic, and ambisonic space in which you're immersed in sound. A space of immersion, a space of fluid sound. And that is an infestation of Brud, and that is between these four speakers, which for this evening are configured as a quadraphonic system. And the Plaza Perifonica, as you may infer, is a place of periphony. And periphony here is the idea of immersive sound that engulfs you, sound that you're swimming in. And this is the notion of the fluid image, because stereo is simply Greek for a solid. And the notion of, can we have liquid sound? Can we have fluid sound? And yes, this is the idea of periphony. In introducing Juju, I often think of Louis Helmsleb, who wrote about the lexis of a medium or of a stream. And the lexis is what most people think of when you say something to them about something. So most people, if you talk with them about painting, they will think of a canvas. Most people will not be thinking of extended painting, or most people introduced to film will think of a feature film, and a sculpture is a statue, and for most of its history, photography was a rectangular piece of paper. Lexes change all the time, and in talking of periphony, the lexis of, so what is the lexis of periphony? And most people, when encountering immersive sound, think of surround sound, which has been popularized by Dolby, and basically is a reformulation of what the original idea of periphony was. Periphony was not meant to be proprietary or locked down. Periphony was a space of active experiments, collaborations, gigs, concerts, events of all kinds of groups, collaborators, very DIY, grassroots, very ragtag bunches of people, and corporations, and laboratories, and big name bands like Pink Floyd were experimenting with quadraphonia in the 70s, and yet quadraphony, let's say, failed or died a slow death. Since then, we have seen the rise of the home theater, or Dolby 5.1 and 7.1, which boast of this military rhetoric, this prescriptive vocabulary of being surrounded. And Dolby only truly works if you're sitting very rigidly, like so, and you face a wall of 4 speakers, and then there's perhaps something right behind you, which is the gimmicks. So when you hear a dinosaur, you hear this behind you, and earthquakes are behind you as well. There are many reasons why quad failed. The many different groups involved in quadraphony quarreled, and nothing was ever agreed upon. And for other reasons, it was too expensive and far ahead of its time for periphony to achieve cultural absorption. And this is perhaps part of a larger conversation of how the military, industrial, congressional, and theological complex drips down into culture, and that is what we accept as the basis of society. And I'll be very happy to chat with you about Brud's direction or goal or thinking in that. Perhaps modernism was a mistake, and perhaps the white cube is simply crystallized Renaissance Christianity, and perhaps there is we see this all around us, and we often see when art enters a space, is there anything that follows after art enters a space? So oftentimes military complexes are decommissioned. So you take the turbine hall, you empty it, and you make it the Tate. Or closer home, you take an army barracks and you turn it into a residency. You take factories and you turn them into concert venues. And you take churches to play techno. So what follows art? If art enters a space, is that the end? Is art a tombstone for space?
Money.
And yes, Brud feels that this is a crisis of direction and of directionality, which we are seeing in a resurgence of ambisonics, quadraphonics, thanks to the rise of virtual reality and 360 video. Again, spearheaded by corporations and neoliberal capital, basically. And yet we are seeing the flowering of art forms, methods, practices from the 70s and the 60s, which all of a sudden are completely relevant and have so much to give. Brud envisions Juju and the Plaza Perifonica as a friendly introduction to periphony and to modular synthesis. And by this I mean the Lexis of modular synthesis is seen as being too esoteric or too arcane, atonal, it's very macho, it's very nerdy. It's this, what is this? And a similar reaction as much of modern art has by the lay public. And the Piazza Perifonica, Radio Juju, is conceived as an attempt to make it perhaps less arcane, to point out the very many diverse practices that exist within modular synthesis. The diversity of people, geographically, historically, and just who they are. And it seems to me personally, as someone who's a modular synthesis, it attracts a very specific and eccentric sort of personality, which I feel immediately at home with. And hence, Brud has invited a bunch of synthesists who will be part of Radio Juju. In Periphony, Periphony adds a significant idea into music, into composition, into the notion of music, which is space. When you're immersed in sound, space is an active ingredient in the composition. Space adds rhythm, space makes you move, and that is the Piazza Perifonica, where you will encounter space as a piece of the narrative, of the component. So, hence, if space is a unit of music, what does a show about modular synthesis look like? And for this, we have invited a number of highly striking, original, accomplished, and artists who are also dear friends of mine. And the next Juju takes place on the 29th of March, and we have Gerrit Sharma from Berlin and Graz and beyond, who was one of the, I would say, one of the pioneers of this resurgence of ambisonics, and who worked and studied at in Graz, where he developed a significant step in ambisonic reproduction called the icosahedral speaker. Gerrit is also a dear friend of mine, and I invited him to speak about his work, to perform here in front of you. And that is the 29th of March, and that, the Piazza Perifonica will be ambisonic, which is same but different than quadraphonics. We're also bringing theorists, scholars, performers, and thinkers, and artists, and friends, and human beings to Juju and to the Plaza. Inigo Wilkins will be here in May, who is from London and is a theorist of noise. And his PhD is about noise, and at Goldsmith he spends time writing about noise as something that is slightly just beyond computation. And I shouldn't paraphrase Inigo too much. Maybe I'm rambling here. I will quickly wrap up. We have musicians and scientists and a luthier to follow. Ryo Ikishiro, also from London, and Butch, Michal Libera, and the duo of Bear TT, Melissa Tuntun, and Katja Bennett. We also have Joan Elliott and more artists to come. And yes. And tonight we have a very special guest. I'm very excited and happy that it has come to this, and it has taken so long, and it is so joyous that she is here. And is she here? Andrea Liu, all the way from New York. And I thought I'd quickly introduce Andrea, who is such a dear friend and such a joy to listen to and to observe her way through life. Andrea is highly accomplished and a multi-hyphenate woman, an artist, a critic, a curator, a writer, an art historian, performance history especially, and a performer, and an intense and charismatic performer herself. This is the second iteration of her performance, The Visitors, that I will be seeing after having seen it at the Theatre Festival in Italy, where Brud stage as well. And yes, perhaps you have read Introduction to the Visitors, which is a very funny and astute take on the people who visit performances, the people who go to White Cubes, and you who have shown up today. So Andrea will be performing over here, and we have a projection on the back screen. You will feel it out. After Andrea's performance, which is maybe 20 to 30 minutes long, we will have a break of about 10 to 15 minutes, after which the artist Umo will perform, playing the Seattle Bard modular synthesizer. And Umo is my latest solo musical project, in which I found that the more time I spent in modular synthesis, and especially the world of Seattle Bard and analog modular, and especially Western analog modular synthesis, that's a mouthful, I found that it sounded I felt very close to it immediately, and it sounded very Indian to me. It sounded like Southern classical Indian music, and I kept thinking why that is, which is what I was trained in as a child, and I feel I have an answer now. I think it's the use of pure tones, of harmonies, of Zen harmonics, polymeter and polyrhythm, and make very simple ideas such as loops, decays, delays, and modulation, which simply means that you control something with something else. And as Peter Blasser, the creator of the Seattle Bard modular system, says, in life everything is modulating everything else. So I encourage you in the modular performance to pay attention to the aspects of space in the way the quadraphonic sound envelops you. I encourage you to spend time in the plaza perifonica, which is between the speakers. I encourage you to move around, because in polyphony, the sound is in one point in space only once. It is unique. So a simultaneous objective and subjective uniqueness of sound is very rare, and I encourage you to soak in it. And that is the last thing, and Umo finishes around, I don't know. And then, yeah, we close the day. Thank you very much.